Hey, welcome into another episode of the Fat Guy Podcast. Fat Guy here. Most people call me Brett. Thanks so much for listening today. I'm not a medical professional. I don't have any medical training. This is just my opinion and my personal experiences. It is not personalized diet advice for you. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast. If you already get podcasts on your phone, you know how to use your podcast app, we're there. Just search for Fat Guy Podcast and subscribe. If podcasting is new to you and you don't quite get it, look, the easiest thing to do is download the Spreaker app, Spreaker, Spreaker. Once you download it, search for Fat Guy Podcast on it, hit the heart button, follow, subscribe. Not only we get new episodes, you'll see all the previous episodes, and there's thousands of other podcasts on there you may like as well. It's a fantastic app. I highly recommend it. Please share this on your page. You don't know whose life you'll change. You just don't know whose life you'll change. And we have life-changing stuff today. More proof that there was a cover-up by especially the government in cahoots with big business, namely Big Sugar. Big Sugar wanted to be recognized as a food so bad. And the more sugar that they were able to produce and refine, and the better their equipment got at it, the more they wanted to sell it. And they needed the government. They needed the FDA. They need all these agencies to sign off on sugar being not only a food, but a safe food. GRS, generally regarded as safe, and all these type things. And so there was a big battle for it. But as the intake of sugar was slowly increasing from the early 1900s, more and more sugar was coming into the diet. All this as a result of the Industrial Revolution, which mostly made this possible in large part. That's when heart disease started. Heart disease was unheard of in Americans before that. So was cancer. Cancer was pretty rare. So was heart disease. So was all these other things, these Alzheimer's and all this stuff. It was all pretty rare. And you can pretty much mark with a graph of almost direct correlation between increase in sugar consumption and all these diseases increasing over time. Nevertheless, things are really getting ramped up in the 40s and then into the 50s and everything. Sugar really starts becoming a problem. Not nearly what it is today, though. I'm just talking about in comparison to what it was just a few decades earlier. Now it's off the charts. But here's proof that everybody knew then how to lose the weight. Everybody knew then what was causing the weight loss, and they knew how to get off of it. If it wasn't for this jerk, this Ancel Keys, who sold this hypothesis that saturated fat caused heart disease, and he got everybody to buy into it, and he got his rich cronies to buy into it, and they pushed it into the government. He, as well as others, wound up being on influential boards that made these decisions about what the diet was. It's a horrible story. They really ruined all of our lives. I believe this guy's dead, but if there's any of them still alive, they should all be put on trial for the mass murders of so many people they've killed with their bad dietary advice that have died from heart disease all these years. It's crazy. Nevertheless, they knew early on it was sugar, and they knew what the problem was. And I have some great evidence that I'm going to share with you. And this is going to be a very short podcast. But this is an excerpt from JAMA, J-A-M-A, the Journal of the American Medical Association. This is, I believe, the most respected medical journal in all of the country, maybe all of the world. This comes from the November 16th, 1957 edition. I'm going to read a few excerpts. The simplest to prepare and most easily obtainable high protein, high fat, low carbohydrate diet, and the one that will produce the most rapid loss of weight without hunger, is made up of meat, fat, and water. The total quantity eaten needs not be noted. So you can eat as much as you want because you will naturally get full. So the total quantity you eat doesn't need to be noted. But the ratio of 3 parts of lean to 1 part fat should be maintained. That's a ketogenic diet. That's a high fat, low carb, moderate protein ketogenic diet. That's exactly what that is. It's just quite remarkable that this has been out there so long. They added some other things in there that lethargy could accompany it. Of course, that happens in the first couple of weeks with keto flu. Constipation is possible. They note that as well. They noted that when people eat this ad libitum, so you don't regulate how much you eat, just eat till you're full. So you're eating you're eating meat and water is basically basically what you're eating. I mean, that's the recipe. It's meat and fat and water. 170 grams of meat was where people usually wound up, and 57 grams of fat is where people usually wound up 3 times a day. They said you could drink black coffee, a clear tea, and water. Basically, that's it. Now, they said the diet is well adapted. People adapt to it very well. Hunger isn't an issue. Sometimes the monotony of the food becomes an issue, and so they recommended that certain fruits and some vegetables can be added in for variety. So, the last thing that I would notice, something I say all the time, if you're treating a patient this way, you need to deal with them as an individual, recognizing all the different factors at work in his particular case, and as well as his level of understanding of the diet. I find that all the time. So everybody's different, but if you start off with that basic premise, you will lose a ton of weight. This is basically a carnivore diet, and it's something that I'm moving more and more towards. I'm eating less and less vegetables. I only eat them when I feel like I need some variety or something. And then I eat other things like, snacky type keto things when I feel I need the variety. But I'm trying to make my diet mostly meat and water, and I find that it just makes a huge difference. It's just a huge difference. If you're wondering what meat fits this criteria, it's basically ground beef and steak meets this criteria, and not the really lean, not the super lean flank steaks. You want to buy steaks that you can see some marbling in them. You need to see fat marbling in there. So if you don't see the white streaks of fat, of course, that's the problem with steaks, is the cheaper they are, the less fat they have in them, because it takes money to fatten something up. So that's why that works. Ribeyes are great, though. Ribeyes are probably perfect, but there's definitely other cuts of steak. Ground beef is the most affordable, though. Look, you don't even have to get expensive ground beef. The more I study this and the more I understand about it, if you're obese and you have problems, especially if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, the healthiest thing you can do is get that crap down. And so you can debate whether grass-fed meat is healthier than grain-fed beef. There ain't a whole heck of a lot of difference in the nutrient makeup, and grain-fed is so much cheaper. So much cheaper. The health benefits to you as a pre-diabetic person, or a person that's 50 pounds or more overweight, or a person that has type 2 diabetes, the benefit to you from going to this kind of diet is way more than nitpicking over a few extra whatevers of omega-3 fatty acids or the other things that they say grass-fed meat has a little bit more in. Not only that, I read a bunch of reports and studies and documentaries, and a bunch of different people I follow on YouTube have tried it too. Most everybody says that grain-fed beef tastes better than grass-fed. So, I don't know. I've eaten both. I like the grass-fed beef, and I do eat it occasionally, but I don't buy it all the time. I used to buy it more. I still buy it. Look, you want to see some dramatic weight loss results? You do this. You do this for 2 weeks. Do this for 2 weeks. You don't drink anything but water, and you don't eat anything but meat. So for breakfast, you can have bacon and eggs, and that's it, okay? Salt and pepper's fine. But you have bacon and eggs for breakfast. You have a pound to 2 of hamburger meat or something cooked and seasoned how you want for lunch. And you have another pound to 2 of either hamburger meat or steak for dinner, seasoned how you want. It's how much weight you've lost in 2 weeks. It will blow your mind. You're definitely going to go through keto flu. If you're a carb eater, those first 7 to 10 days, it's going to come. How do you offset that? Up in the salt, man. You need to have 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons 2 tablespoons of salt a day, and that'll take care of that. Mix it up in some warm water. Squirt you just a little bit of lemon juice in there with you. That'll help, and see what happens. It's amazing that they've known the answer for weight loss all these years. It's incredible. It's insane. So there you go. If you enjoyed the podcast, share it. Like us on the social medias. Fat Guy Podcast is the username on all of them. And subscribe, whether you use the Apple podcasting app or you use something on your Android device already. You can search for us and find us on there. And if you don't use any of that or understand it, download the Spreaker app, Spreaker, and you'll find us there. All right, thanks so much. Share. Change somebody's life. Share this on your social media page. You never know whose life you will touch and forever change for the better. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you next time.